down on Friday. So outside water first. Long story short, I had two of my guys, my son.
My
client, and I wasn't.
all over the place this morning.
At 6 o'clock.
You look like you have a cat.
I do. Is
Six.
it a company? No, I'm just kidding.
No, there's a
company.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law just gave me that home.
I said,
Yeah.
She just gave me a
Between those.
copper ones that, yeah, and it was like, oh, I'm like, and she said, I just like it, and I associated with.
Maybe you guys should have a, planning commission. No, no.
I love
No,
you.
no.
I like that.
I used it once, I feel like it was good. Thirdly, well, you know,
But I do like, yes, I do like teams for.
I'm going headed to New York. Graduating from NYU.
Like a.
It's supposed to rain. It's supposed to
Meeting, regular meeting,
All right, so good morning, everyone. I'm going to call to order the Montgomery County Planning Commission board meeting for Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. Let the record show that the floor currently has full. We are in full attendance and in the room, and I appreciate everybody showing up today as we do at these workshops that we would like everybody's participation in. With that, is there any board comment before we get started? Our agenda. Board comment. Seeing none, then I'll take, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our regular monthly board meeting from April 8th, 2026? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any comments or corrections in the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approved meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then we will move on to public and staff comment. Any public or staff comment in the room? Chloe? I thought you were waiting to say. Aces. All right. Anybody online? We don't want anyone? Yeah. Good one. Okay, well, with that, then we will move on to our first agenda item, which is our Pike Reconstruction project, and I'll call on Matt. Hey, Matt.
Good morning, Steve. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Pike was a little bit of a mess on the way here.
Don't say.
I can't imagine why.
Unfortunately, we have the people.
5 minutes from your presentation.
Then I will be in and be out. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us here in May. I'm going to keep this very brief of an introduction because the stars of the show should be the people in the transportation section that are spending most of their days working on all of this stuff here on Ridge Pike. So
I gotta click on the screen.
click on the screen.
It hasn't changed. Seems. Now try.
Okay, we'll get that working.
Come on, Bob, he only has 24 minutes.
I'm ticking.
I'm going. We're here today to talk about Ridge Pike Improvement Project, which is a much larger project than you would expect the Planning Commission to be running, and we'll give you some of the numbers and reasons behind why exactly that is coming up. But we're going to go through all 4 of the sections today and have Bobby and Laureen present about each of them, with Russell throwing in some information about the right-of-way aspects that we've been working on through the Montgomery County Transportation Authority. The piece of Ridge Pike that the county owns is about 5 miles in total from Norristown to Philadelphia. We actually asked Morgan Rauscher up in the County Roads and Bridges Department for the full explanation of how exactly this happened, that Montgomery County came to be owning Ridge Pike. For those of you that were here with us during our Monco Pike studies, you might know that the county owns a number of different pikes. And these are all old historical turnpikes, toll roads that were established in some cases back in the early 1800s, like Ridge Pike, which was actually established back in 1811. It operated as a toll road for most of the 1800s, and then, like many transportation assets, didn't end up making its own profit and therefore went bankrupt. In 1872, the piece of Ridge Pike in Philadelphia was bought out by the city. The rest of it was kind of handed off in some sort of limbo. There was a number of different acts that the county had to take in the late 1800s and early 1900s. In 1905, there was an act saying condemned or appropriated turnpikes were required to be required and maintained by the county. This was then turned back towards the townships in 1909 and then turned back towards the county in 1911. And I think since 1911, Ridge Pike has been under our control in total. We first paved it as a county in the 1930s and did widening in particular pieces in the 1970s. It covers 3 municipalities at this point: Plymouth, White Marsh, and the Panhandle portion of Springfield Township. Recent daily traffic counts out on this stretch of Ridge Pike are in the 20 to 30,000 range. If you go back a little bit further to the 2008 era, when we had our peak traffic counts around the region, there were some parts of Ridge Pike that were pushing 35,000 vehicles per day. But right now we're in the usually high 20s range for all the different parts through all the various sections. Here are the 4 sections that we're going to be talking about today. We have broken them up into different letter-coded sections based on how the projects are progressing. Section D, closest to the city, is substantially complete. Section B is under construction now. You see the turnpike overpass basically separating sections A and B. And that part in the middle, basically between Chemical Road and Butler Pike, is already a 5-lane cross-section. So we don't need to necessarily attack it from any sort of widening standpoint. We're currently working with 10 different private organization partners across engineering, construction management, and construction inspection for the 4 different parts here. We have different funding arrangements for each of these parts, which the 3 members of the transportation section will cover. Our construction years are covering much of the 2020s, and we're hoping that we're not going to go too far into the 2030s with Section C. But it's been a very large, multi-pronged, multifaceted effort to get this entire roadway reconstructed and rebuilt. And it's cost us rather a lot of money at this point. Between the 4 sections that we've had here, the capital budget, which has to get developed on a spreadsheet that is extraordinarily complicated for us, showing all the different parts and pieces of budgets that go into this, from engineering to right-of-way into construction. We're currently at a all-in cost across all 4 sections of about $230 million. I would not be surprised, given a very high PPI rating this morning and construction inflation overall, if that number passes $250 million by the time we're all said and done. Fortunately, the county is not on the hook for the majority of this $250 million. We are getting an awful lot of funding from our federal, state, and turnpike partners, which we will cover here as we go out. So I'm going to turn it over to Bobby, who's going to start leading us through some of the sections here, and we'll begin with letter A.
Yes, so we will start with a deep dive of Section A, whose limits start with School Lane and with Delaware Road. There's 2 bridges in Section A over the PA Turnpike and Norfolk Southern Railroad. PA Turnpike Bridge is DB 116, and the Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge is County Bridge 0. And the anticipated let date for construction for Section A is November 2026. So one of the major benefits of Section A is its ability to enable the Lafayette Street interchange. And for those that need a little refresher, the Lafayette Street interchange project will create on and off ramps to I-276 and also off ramps to around Norristown and Conshohocken and Plymouth. So some of the scope for Section A includes replacing, like I said, both bridges on this section, the Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge, which you can see right here, and then the Pennsylvania Turnpike Bridge, which is over I-276 here. Other scope items include widening the roadway from 4 to 5 lanes to handle this new interchange connection for the eastbound on and off ramps. We'll also be adding additional and new sidewalks to the north and south side of the roadway. And then we're adding new lighting, and then we're relocating a number of utility lines. So to get into a little bit of a high-level overview of the financials for Section A, the funding formula breaks down by bridge type. So you can see with bridge DB 116, which again is the Pennsylvania Turnpike Bridge, the engineering and right-of-way costs break down with 80% of those costs are paid by the state and 20% are paid by us in the county. Now for the construction cost of that bridge, 100% of those costs are paid by the Pennsylvania Turnpike, which is a big plus for us. For County Bridge 0, all phases to include engineering, right-of-way, and construction are paid 80% by the federal government, 15% by the state, and then 5% by the county. In this image, these two images give a really good breakdown of the layout of Ridge Pike. So the top image shows what the existing layout is. So that's 4 lanes with 2 lanes traveling westbound and 2 lanes traveling eastbound. And then we have a 5-foot sidewalk on both the north and south side. Now, the proposed layout of Ridge Pike includes that 5th center two-way left turn lane that allows for access onto 276. We also are expanding the sidewalk to 8 feet to allow for that buffer on both the north and south side. And that buffer will allow a little bit of separation between the pedestrian and the vehicular traffic.
Second, Bob.
Yes.
Bob, can we get rid of the stuff on the top?
I'm gonna try. For some reason, this is kind of a lot. It's like, I can't. We're not muted, so it's definitely not giving us anything, but I can't do nothing about this.
Do you wanna slam it on the table? That
I
usually
can't
works.
even, it's like it's not there, so I can't.
It's not something you can grab.
Sorry.
Yeah, we don't see it online, but that's just here.
This is our first time with Teams. This, hopefully this doesn't continue to happen.
Sorry.
While we have a break, Matt, can I ask you a dumb question? What's the county's role in all of this? What's the planning commission's role in Ridge Pike?
Planning Commission's role is to help oversee the engineering design and work with the construction as part of it. We're in conjunction with our roads and bridges and assets and infrastructure department. We acquired a lot of knowledge of how to run these sorts of construction projects during our work with the Lafayette Street project, where we helped Norristown reconstruct the area through there. So now that assets and infrastructure and roads and bridges is largely focusing on the county bridges, we are handling the large road projects.
Are we getting reimbursed for this? Is the county getting reimbursed for your time, or your time's part of the 5%?
It's part of our work, I'd say. I think the additional time that is being spent when all of us are talking about who's getting reimbursed for funding, that's for our engineering consultants and construction consultants. But the county is doing the work where this is part of our jobs. And the transportation section has some of its costs paid for by DVRPC contracts working on regional highway and transit system projects. So it kind of gets put in under there most of the time, I'd say.
Given that the county owns this asset, if the county didn't take this lead position in managing it and pushing this project,
Right.
it never would have happened.
Yeah, it's just like, PennDOT staff working on a PennDOT.
Yeah, I was more focused on the planning commission aspect of it rather than roads and bridges or some other department of the county.
I mean, is there, and I think I agree with Jonathan, is there a budget, like consideration for the planning commission's staff's time on this?
I mean, I don't think it's separated out.
No, but
It's part of our work program and we are budgeted to perform that program.
Sorry about that. That's bad. All right.
Okay, so to go over some challenges that we're facing with Section A, one of the first ones is the overall constructability of this section. So as you can see in these images, this before image, there's really tight constraints with the properties that abut very close to the roadway. So one of the issues we had to come up with was how do we make sure that there's enough space in the roadway to widen it to 5 lanes? And essentially that solution came with acquiring these properties and demolishing them to make room for that 5th lane. Utility relocation is another challenge that we have in this section. As you can see here, a lot of the power poles are located in close proximity to the roadway. So again, in order to expand the roadway, we have to relocate these utility poles. And that requires coordinating with the utility pole owner and all of the attachers to figure out a relocation plan, which is a lot of work and a lot of back and forth with design and decisions. There's also Pico transmission towers at the Belvoir intersection of Ridge Pike. And with those Pico transmission towers, there's clearance requirements and height requirements that we have to abide by. So we have to make sure that things like our signals and equipment like cranes as we reconstruct the bridges on this section are following the clearance requirements outlined by Pico. Another challenge includes the coordination with Norfolk Southern. As we are constructing this roadway, obviously one of the bridges is over their railroad that is active. So we have to make sure that they are able to maintain their operations while we construct our bridge. So making sure that we are communicating with them and, capturing their concerns has been a little bit of a challenge. And Russell's gonna talk a little bit about some right-of-way coordination challenges for sections.
So wait, I got one question for you.
Yeah.
So this is a before and after, right?
Yes, it is.
And the green space on the left-hand side is where the auto body shop was.
Exactly, yep.
What's happening with the residual property that was taken?
So basically, the roadway will be expanded to 5 lanes, and then also the sidewalk will be expanded to 8 feet from 5 feet. So a little bit of that real estate will be for the actual roadway enlargement, but also we will be constructing, I guess you would call it almost like a sound hill barrier for the properties on this side to make sure that the sound from the traffic at Ridge Pike is a little bit muffled. And essentially, we had to acquire the whole roadway or whole property on this side. So that allows for a little bit of room there.
It's actually slightly different on both sides. So the right side of this image, we actually bought the entire parcels and we just need them to be green space in order to meet our stormwater management calculations. On the left side, the Salomon and Domino property, the right-of-way line went maybe 5 feet into the building, which was enough for us to say, we need to take this entire building down. However, they still own a large majority of this property and can still redevelop it in the future, especially once we're done our construction, and they'll hopefully be right near.
So you didn't take, so on the left side, you didn't take the whole property, you just took enough for the right way.
Correct.
Gotcha.
I'm intimately involved in the Davino property, and there's a temporary easement that's on there for 2 years. For your
Yes.
construction.
Correct.
Did they get it back?
Yes.
Once
Yeah.
construction starts,
I'm sorry?
the easement comes, once construction starts, the 2 years starts.
And I think the picture you're showing there on the bottom is actually an existing condition. I don't think that's.
Yeah.
This was
I don't think that's a true representation of the take on the upper side.
the tape, you said? This is taken, I think this week or last
This
week.
week?
Yeah, this week. So that we're just trying to show,
Good on Monday.
what it used to look like and what it now looks like with the properties demolished.
Top of back, so all that stuff's been demolished. Got it. Okay. So we didn't take the whole property, we just took it temporarily.
Took some
We
permanently.
took some permanent
frontage.
have a temporary easement that's finished when they start construction for 2 years.
Correct.
Also, the turnpike had to acquire a decent chunk of the property in the back along the turnpike alignment in order for the off-ramp to begin for the westbound exit.
All good. Hey, everyone, good to see you. So as Matt touched on previously, we acquire the needed right of way for county-owned road and bridge projects via the Transportation Authority. So the right of way for Section A is almost complete. The majority of the needed right of way was acquired in late 2023 into 2024, whether that was via an amicable settlement or by condemnation. Since then, we've identified a few small areas of right of way that we need in order to implement the project. So we're currently working on acquiring those last small pieces so that the project is one step closer to construction. And in addition, one of the properties that we condemned is challenging our just compensation that we deposited into court. So they've requested a board of view hearing, which is essentially a hearing to determine just compensation when there's a disagreement between parties. So that will happen in the coming months as well.
Is that for an entire property or just a portion of the property?
This specific parcel is a little bit weird where it's a portion of a property. There's a landowner and a tenant. So some of the just compensation went to the landowner, that other part of it went to the tenant. The landowner is actually, they accepted our just compensation and they're not a part of this board of view. The tenant is the one challenging the portion.
But once again, is it just a portion of the property?
Yes, it's not a full acquisition, it's a portion of a property.
Some additional challenges that we are facing with Section A includes accommodating that future Lafayette Street interchange, making sure that we have enough room for both the eastbound and westbound traffic to get onto 76, and making sure that we're working with our Pennsylvania Turnpike partners to allow there to be enough space. Another challenge that we've faced is the vertical clearance over I-276 at Norfolk Southern Railroad. So one issue that came about as we approached Norfolk Southern with our design for Section A was that they actually wanted to increase their vertical clearance from 21 feet and 9 inches to 23 feet, as you can see here. So we were able to approve this request, but it actually required us to elevate the roadway slightly. And we had to do that in a way that did not exceed that 6% slope gradient rule. So essentially this pink shape sort of shows you where the increase is. And we have to slightly slope it downward in a way that does not exceed that 6% gradient. So that also required us for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Bridge to raise that slightly. So we had to raise that by 14, the existing is 14 feet and 9 inches to 16 feet. So again, you can see that increase there. This slope downward also required us, was another reason we had to take these properties, because if we kept them, we would have had to build, large retaining walls, which would just not have worked with how close those properties were to the roadway. And lastly, another challenge that we had to face was maintaining the turnpike traffic for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Bridge. So, the design of this bridge had to be thought out. We couldn't have a pier down the middle because, again, we had to make sure that the turnpike can continue to maintain their flow of traffic. So instead, we had to build abutments for this bridge, which created a little bit of an engineering challenge, but we're good to go there. And lastly, some outcomes for Section A. One outcome was our ability to work concurrently with the Lafayette Street interchange design with the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So we're able to sort of overlap our tasks there as it becomes with design for constructability, relocation of utilities right of way. So that way we're not sort of, operating in silos. We're able to do it, concurrently and not duplicate work. Another outcome was our ability to work and coordinate with Section B, which is currently in construction. So we have biannual meetings that allow us to come together with all the partners for Rich Pike to, highlight some of the lessons learned that we had for each section. So that way, if there's any mistakes or risks or items that have come up, we're able to implement them going forward to construction for the new sections. And lastly, another outcome is our anticipated let date of November of 2026.
Can I just ask while you're on this slide? Sorry for a stupid question. So when all the work is done, will there be on-offs of the turnpike to both Ridge and Lafayette?
Eastbound exit on and off will go directly into Ridge. Westbound on and off will come over to Lafayette Street just east of Conshohocken, or just west of Conshohocken.
A split interchange.
Got it. Thank you.
Now we're going to talk with Section B. Slide.
Yeah, please. So, hi, everybody. My name is Laureen Sendel-Grant. Rich Pike is my primary responsibility here. So, we're currently in construction for Section B, and B is going to go from Belvoir Road to Chemical Road. And we're hoping it ends finally a year from now in 2027. So what we did here was we're widening a dangerous stretch. There's, if you've ever, and I'm sure you all have driven on Ridge Pike, the access into the car dealerships here is pretty confusing. So we're doing a full depth reconstruction. We're widening to add that center turn line, which is going to make those turns a lot safer in the future. We're replacing the Norfolk Southern Bridge. And we're rehabilitating the bridges at I-76 and Plymouth Creek. We're adding sidewalks and crosswalks to make it safer for pedestrians, and we're eliminating the jug handle, which will make it easier to access and get off of Ridge Pike there. We're building improved bus stops, and we're adding new signalized intersections right here. New signals will be at Carland and Industrial Way. And then we'll have one right here at the exit from 476 South. So you'll be able to make a right and left turn there instead of going down to that jug handle. Slide. These are the financials. So from Belvoir Road to Carland Road right here. Oh, I'm sorry. And then we are the other half of Ridge Pike is from Regal Road down to Chemical Road here. So we'll, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Belvoir Road. Now I got it. this is Belvoir Road. So, the first section of Belvoir Road it's divided into 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1 goes down to Carland, and then from Carland to Regal those are part 1 and part 2. Carland to Regal, because it contains the Norfolk Southern Bridge, Turnpike to Carland, it's actually Belvoir Road. It's 80% federal, 15% state, and 5% county. Carland to Regal is a different funding, and that's 80% federal, 20% county. And then finally from Regal to Chemical is 100% county. Next slide. Thank you. So these are the challenges. There were many on section B. Again, it's utility coordination. This road is so old, as you know, that there's so many utilities buried underneath it. Even the utilities don't know what they've got down there. It was discovery learning every time we put a hole in the ground.
What a surprise.
Yeah. So the other surprise was dirty dirt. Testing during preliminary design didn't show us any dirty dirt, but actually the dirt came up during excavation or removal of the railroad bridge.
What is dirty dirt, Laureen?
It's just that, Matt.
Contaminated soil.
It's dirt that tests positive for materials that are,
Kinds of
It's
stuff.
stuff.
yeah, it could be anything.
Turtles or anything like that.
It's all naturally occurring, I gotta tell you, but it doesn't help that the railroad they had all kinds of railroad ties buried everywhere, and the creosote and stuff contaminated the soil.
Said it's naturally occurring?
Well, there is naturally occurring materials in dirt, like arsenic. That you see all those mountains along the turnpike, those are all naturally occurring, and they do exceed the standards.
But is there other contaminants like
Oh, yeah,
from previous
Oh, yeah.
usage of the?
runoff, yeah. So there
I would
could be,
imagine.
yeah, it's hard to imagine everything isn't dirty, huh? So, anyway, we also had difficulties negotiating with Norfolk Southern. They're a large agency, and they are not easy to deal with. Then the bridge demolition, we had access issues to that initially. We figured that out. But, and as you can see, the side that's complete now is beautiful. And then we had to redesign our basin. We have the first water basins right there at the bridge. And then we had to redesign it to accommodate section A's runoff. Slide. So, but in the long run, we're gonna have a center lane down the entire length of it. We were able to have phased construction, so all of it, we only, I think, originally planned for 3 phases, and now we've got 6 or 7. But it allows, because of the utilities, we had to work around their relocation, so we were able to, jump around and get stuff done. Moving the dirty dirt off-site. There was no extra right-of-way on this project to store materials for dirty dirt that we encountered, and we were able to work with PennDOT to get it stored on their 23. The 23 route that comes into Bridgeport that was never completed, that's where we're storing it. It's just a holding area till we can take it off to the landfills.
Have there been any economic impact claims from car dealerships?
Not yet. We have a very good relationship with all of the car dealerships there. Improve sidewalk connections, bus stops in the end. Next slide. So section C, kind of back to Bobby.
So section C's limits start at Harmon Road and end at Crescent Ave. The anticipated let date for construction is an estimated late 2027 for C. So the purpose of C is to rebuild a tired road. This road is outdated and it needs to be updated to the century. So we're doing that by doing full depth reconstruction, adding turn lanes at major intersections to improve traffic flow, improving access management for residential properties on this corridor, adding sidewalks and crosswalks across the corridor, building improved bus stops, and lastly, adding new signalized intersections to some certain areas of the corridor. So As section C is one of our largest sections by mileage. The map below shows Harmon Road to Birch Drive, and then this next map shows Birch Drive to Crescent Ave. And I'll go into detail a little bit by section, by segment. So an overview, the nice thing about C is the financial breakdown is consistent across the entire corridor. So the funding formula for design is 100% of those costs are incurred by the county, while utility, right-of-way, and construction costs, 80% of those costs are covered by the federal government, while 20% of those costs are covered by the county. The overall scope for this section includes a 4-lane cross section at a minimum, but I mentioned some of our major intersections will include that 5th exclusive turn lane to improve traffic flow and safety. Some other scope includes adding signals and improving current signals, improving drainage on the corridor. So we'll be adding, I think it's 5 stormwater basins across the entire corridor. And then lastly, we'll be adding new sidewalks to this section to have a complete sidewalk network on the south side of the roadway. So first we'll go through the Harmon Road to Spring Mill Road segment. Some quick overviews of the scope changes or some new changes. We'll be updating the existing signal at Butler Pike and Ridge Pike. We're proposing a new signal at White Marsh Shopping Center to help with the flow of traffic into the establishment. And we'll be including some additional exclusive turn lanes, specifically in this intersection. Next, we have Spring Mill Road to Birch Drive. Again, updating existing signals here, adding some exclusive turn lanes to allow for access onto some of these side streets. Next, we have Birch Drive to Holly Lane. Again, updating some existing signals, adding some, additional through lanes to improve with bottlenecks, and just adding that sidewalk network on the south side here. And lastly, we have the Holly Lane to Crescent Ave segment. We'll be adding a new signal at Crescent Ave at this intersection, updating the signal at Chestnut Street, and then, adding some additional left turn lanes, again, to improve traffic flow. So Russell's going to go over some right-of-way challenges that we've had with Section C.
Yep. Thank you, Bobby. So we are in the thick of it when it comes to acquiring the needed right-of-way for Section C. We need right-of-way from 141 parcels along Ridge Pike, as well as some side streets if they're where the intersections are being improved. Most of the valuations for those acquisitions are completed, but we still have a little bit more to do. In terms of numbers, we've amicably settled with 40 parcels so far, and we've authorized condemnation for 15 parcels. But negotiations for those condemned parcels, we're still negotiating with the property owners, hoping to reach an amicable settlement. So one big problem, one big challenge we have is unknown owner / ghost right-of-way. And there's small parcels along the corridor where there is no clear owner. And the reason why is because when this area was developed in the 1960s, in the 1970s, the developers intended to give this land to the county, but the county did not accept it and did not record it. So it's kind of existed in limbo since. So that means when we want to acquire this, land, we have to deposit the money into court where anyone who feels like they have a claim can submit one. But we're confident that nobody else other than the county has a claim on this ghost right-of-way. Another thing we're adding is stormwater management location. So currently there are no stormwater basins along the corridor. We're adding 5. 2 of them are going to be by Pine Ridge Drive near the Crescent Avenue section of the corridor. Another 2 are going to be on both sides of Joshua Road. And then the last one's going to be a little bit west of Joshua Road. Finally, as we're negotiating with property owners as we're acquiring right-of-way, the property owners, they have concerns, and I'll share with you some of them. Obviously, the first one is the effect of this project on their property, primarily, how much right-of-way is needed. Of these 141 parcels, very few are full acquisitions. Most of them are just, say, a strip by Ridge Pike. Another common concern from the property owners is how are they going to access their property during construction? We're a couple years away from that, but when that starts, the contractor who's going to be building the road has to maintain access for these property owners to access their properties. And finally, there are some other issues such as, fence and tree removals in some locations, as well as safety improvements along the corridor. And then finally, stormwater and drainage improvements. Back to you, Bobby.
So some outcomes that we've had with Section C, or future outcomes as well, includes overall improved pedestrian connectivity. Like I mentioned, we're completing a complete sidewalk network on the south side of this section, which will be nice for our pedestrian traffic. We'll also be improving drainage and stormwater with out this corridor with the creation of the 5 stormwater basins. We'll also have improved intersection operation and mobility as we add those 5th exclusive turning lanes to allow for a flow of traffic and to prevent the likelihood of crashes. And lastly, we will be improving congestion on this corridor by eliminating the bottleneck at Joshua Road to widen that section of the roadway to 2 lanes. Next, we're going to Section D.
Okay. Oh, good. We're complete now. Thank you. Section D, Crescent Avenue to Philadelphia. We started this project in August of 2023 and 2022. And it is now substantially complete. Next slide. So we eliminated the bottleneck. If you remember Ridge Pike here between Smith, this is Hollids. You all know Hollids Hardware there. There was a bottleneck along this stretch of Ridge Pike where there's 1 lane in one direction and 2 lanes coming westbound. So the full depth reconstruction, this is a very old roadway. And we added sidewalks along parts of the north, but all of the south. So the south side of the project is continuous sidewalk. And we built improved bus stops and we added signals. We added a signal here at Barron Hill. And no, I'm sorry, that's Barron Hill right here. We added a signal there and improved that intersection. Next slide. So this whole project was 100% county funded. Next slide. We had a ribbon cutting in November of 2024. I don't know if any of you were there. Challenges, the proximity, as you can see, we widened this road to add another lane here in the middle. So we came very close to the front of some of these houses. Utility coordination, again, even though you coordinate with utilities prior to construction, once you get in construction, it's a different ballgame. There is a cemetery along this section of roadway between Crescent Avenue and Church and Hearts. And we widened into that cemetery.
Into that cemetery.
Into the cemetery.
Yes, the issues of that was.
Yeah,
that
we
was the story.
relocated several plots. And then we added emergency preemption to this site. There's 3 senior, there's,
People?
say again?
Do you have to pay these people to be moved?
In the cemetery.
The church.
The church handled all that, but we compensated them for everything. Next slide. So these are the outcomes though. At the end of this project, we eliminated the bottleneck. I think traffic's flowing much cleaner out there now. We added new sidewalks, better bus stops, and we added this capacity for emergency management situations. As I said, there's 3 senior assisted living facilities between Manor Road and Northwestern on this road. And the emergency services people were very concerned that we not interrupt their ability to respond there. And we did that by adding emergency preemption to the signals. Next slide. So this is a before picture right there at the bottleneck. Next. And this is what it looks like now. This is a before picture of Barron Hill. This is what it looks like now. And this is the Crescent Avenue towards the church. This is where that cemetery is. We moved this wall back, as you can see here. Next slide is Manor Road and Ridge. Now this is what it looks like.
Yes, did you take pictures during the peak hours? Is that The pictures that were shown?
No, I did not. Ridge Pike rarely looks this uncongested now.
I'm sorry?
They closed it to take their pictures.
It's much better. It's really much.
It is much better.
Yeah, there's-
Anything else?
We know
Thank you
we're,
very much.
yeah, we know we're running behind, but we'll take any questions if you have any. Yes, capacity is still a issue for this entire corridor between Norristown and Philadelphia, but we think that all the additional factors that we're doing, as well as approaching it from a multimodal standpoint, are going to help everybody get through over the long run.
Where you said that there are a lot of houses that are very, I forget it was C or not, very close to the road, and you're going to take land for widening, and then you're gonna put a sidewalk there.
Yes,
Isn't
if
that-
you,
Right, no, I saw that. It's gonna bring it quite close to those houses, and I'm not,
just to clarify, and I think it's this slide that actually
they're
does
so
the
close
best.
now.
The county wants to have sidewalk areas in our right of way. So a lot of the time when we are acquiring right of way, it is to take the piece of sidewalk that is off of their property and onto county right of way. We are still able to say the sidewalk is the responsibility of the homeowner because all of the municipalities along this area have that in their ordinance saying, even if it is in public right of way, the sidewalk is still their responsibility.
Thank you. That's clear. I thought you were gonna take right away, and then you were gonna take side, that was my.
For the most part, especially in most of section C, the 4-lane cross section is going to remain along most of it. So all we're doing is saying the sidewalks are.
Any other questions for transportation? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Naomi? Morning, how are you?
Trying to vote.
Sorry, Naomi, we tried.
I don't think those things.
See, Naomi doesn't even need a team. She can do it all by herself.
Robert, can you try and take that?
I
right
don't
thing
count
off, see if it works out before you get the next presentation.
We have community planning on Collegeville Borough, Douglas Township, and West Norriton.
Correct. So hi, everyone. I'm Naomi Crimm. I'm a senior community planner, and I'm going to talk about 3 of the communities where I work. Douglas, West Norriton, and Collegeville. They all renewed their contracts for 2026 to 2028. So I'll go through some of the past work and that we completed in the prior contract, and then some of the things that we're working on now. What do I do with these? Which one do I do?
One's a laser. The
Bigger one is.
one in your
clicker.
left hand is the clicker.
Great. So just some fun facts about Douglas. We know that the population is about 11,000 residents, 22% increase since 2000. So population is growing and aging, as we see in many places. Median age increased up to 43 from 40 since 2010. And incomes are relatively high, higher than the county's median income. There's lots of growth in housing in Douglas. In 2024, the township had more units built than any other community in Western Montgomery County. It's been mostly townhomes built since 2020. And then before 2020, it was primarily a single family detached. So since 2010, there's been a total of 4,230 units built. So despite the amount of residential development, the township is still largely rural, so 45% of the total land area dedicated to ag uses, 35 preserve farms, so it leads the county in preserve farms. It's part of the Pottstown region currently, so the township has been able to direct growth towards the southern half of the township. Okay, so
What's the entry residence?
it's a single family home on a larger lot. I can't remember if it's 3 acres or something.
So something in their zoning or something?
Yeah, it's a zoning.
That's how we measure existing land use. It's one of our categories, which is on a plot of greater.
3 something, 5 acres.
Okay, greater than 5 acres. Single family home greater than a big lot, 5 acres or greater is kind of like a country resident. It's like a county wide.
We have them all over things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Douglas has their own zoning for country residents. It might be like, the threshold might be a little bit lower than. But so we updated their zoning ordinance. It was a comprehensive update, and that was adopted in 2025. The prior ordinance was maybe at least 20 years old, I think. There was a lot of inconsistencies and a number of repeat variance requests that the township wanted to address. So I'll just provide a quick summary of some of the changes. It was a lot of cleaning up of the ordinance, honestly. We did end up consolidating the township's commercial districts. So there used to be 4 commercial districts that some of them covered just a couple of parcels and were pretty similar in terms of geographic area, scope, and the uses permitted. So we consolidated just into 2 commercial districts. We cleaned up the zoning map, added missing districts that might have existed on paper, but not actually on the map. We added a use regulations chapter with a bunch of new uses like accessory dwelling units, solar and wind, both as accessory and principal uses, dispensaries, agritourism, which is something that the township sees some of in the northern part, and data centers also, which now that those regulations need to be updated now that the county has their model ordinance out. We changed the coverage requirements in the residential districts to be more permissive. That was a priority for the township as they were getting a lot of variance requests for swimming pools. And then we added design standards for residential districts to ensure better townhouse design, and design standards for commercial districts to promote walkability and help buildings fit in with the surrounding community. So we're currently working on an updated revitalization plan. They have a revitalization plan from 2012. It's focused on East Philadelphia Avenue. So the planning agency and the supervisors want to make East Philadelphia Avenue more walkable, more accessible, more attractive, and vibrant. So I'll just show a couple of images so you can see the current conditions. So sidewalks are narrow and in disrepair. The curbs need updating. There are mailboxes just in the middle of the sidewalks. That's an ongoing issue that they hope to resolve. The crossings are lacking, curb cuts, all of that is in need of updating. So I'll go into a bit more detail in a couple of slides as Kevin from design has been working on a very detailed existing conditions analysis. So this plan, as opposed to the prior one, will be much more design oriented and focused on streetscape improvements. But the township is also interested in economic development, so we're getting assistance from the Commerce Department with a market analysis. So we've done a community survey, which got about 360 respondents. Most people felt that addressing road conditions and traffic, streetscape improvements, and making the corridor more visually appealing should be the township's main focus for the revitalization plan. So people want better sidewalks. They want a better mix of businesses and restaurants. They want to see building facade improvements and more community events. Many people in Douglas felt that the township needs better branding, that they're sort of lacking an identity or a unifying sense of place, especially now that the Zerns market is gone. So, but people do appreciate the small town feel and the open space and the ag, and Douglas does have some agritourism already, so corn mazes, things like that. So using that as an economic development tool going forward could be useful. So this is Kevin's work on this project so far, this existing conditions analysis. He has split the corridor into 4 sections and has come up with a very detailed analysis for it. As I was saying earlier, the corridor faces complex challenges. The environment is heavily auto-oriented. It's difficult and unsafe for pedestrians. Sidewalks and crossings exist, but they're lacking. The crossings are poorly marked, frequent driveway interruptions. These images just show a couple examples. So Kevin came up with this framework of challenge categories, is what he's calling them, to systematically document and analyze the issues. And the idea is to translate qualitative observations into measurable data to help better prioritize and target improvements. On the map, the circles identify different challenges, which he's grouped into these categories. I'm not going to go into the details here, but this is just so you get a sense of what's been going on. Well, actually, I want to say a couple more things about this. So in terms of next steps for the project, we had an intro meeting with PennDOT, which they were actually somewhat receptive to a number of the things that we had been talking about in terms of proposed solutions. We have an open house that's going to happen next week, and then we'll incorporate the input we get into the plan. As I said, the Commerce Department is working on a market analysis, and the township is working with the post office on figuring out a solution to the mailboxes and the sidewalk, which is an ongoing saga. And yeah, the township is also hoping to apply for streetscape improvement grant for the 1200 block. So it's sort of like a pilot project. All right, so these are the terms of the contract, just for your reference. Okay, moving on to West Norriton. So West Norriton has about 16,000 residents, 2,700 residents per square mile. Again, the population is aging, median age of 45. And it has a lot of households with just a single person, 40% of households. And the average household size is decreasing. Median household income of 77,000, and not a lot of development built in the past 20 years, 879 units since 2000. Township is largely built out. So in 2025, we completed and the township adopted a comprehensive plan update. Their prior plan the full plan was probably from the 60s or 70s. It only existed in a big book. And they had a small pamphlet sort of update in 2010. So they were really overdue for a plan update. In terms of
Full comprehensive plan, or was it just an update?
this was a full comprehensive plan, yeah. Yeah, in 2010, they did a little pamphlet kind of thing. But yeah. So top priorities for the township were enhancing park and recreation opportunities and improving West Main Street. So many residents cite the park and rec opportunities that currently exist as one of their top reasons for choosing to live in West Norriton, and they want to see more amenities, more recreation options going forward. So the plan includes a list of specific park and recreation improvements. And then the other top priority is enhancing the West Main Street corridor. So people want better sidewalks, a better mix of businesses, more walkability. And in 2023, we adopted zoning changes to allow for those kinds of changes. The plan recommends the township pursue grant funding for sidewalks and street trees and other pedestrian improvements. Commercial areas along Egypt Road were also identified for similar pedestrian streetscape improvements. And other issues include ensuring adequate housing for those of varying income levels and abilities. Median age of residents is increasing, so providing housing options for older residents will be important going forward. And the township is largely built for car-based transportation, so improvements are needed to provide more options for walking and biking. So that's sort of a summary of comp plan. We are currently working on updating their zoning ordinance. This is a full comprehensive update to the zoning ordinance. Yeah, this is something we started in the fall, so still getting started on it, but there are a lot of inconsistencies in the ordinance, outdated regulations that no one knows how to interpret anymore, or that were, for just one particular development. So we're updating the uses to add new uses. The idea is to be implementing the comprehensive plan goals to allow for a wider variety of housing types, ensuring good building and neighborhood design, and better pedestrian amenities. And there's some missing dimensional standards, like there's no impervious coverage limits, for example, in residential districts. So that kind of thing we're adding in. Okay, this is the terms of this contract for your reference. And then Collegeville Borough, small borough, less than 2 square miles, population just 5,000 residents, home of Ursinus College. There's been a 10% increase in population since 2000, and It skews young because of the college, so 41% of residents are between the ages of 15 and 24. In the 4 years I've been working in Collegeville, there hasn't been a huge amount of development activity, mostly some changes in the shopping centers on Route 29.
That's a big push to do something on each.
Yes, I will, yeah.
Went by the wayside or? Yes?
No, I'll go into that. Yeah, that is ongoing. So recently completed work includes a Main Street revitalization plan. This is something that we worked on with the consultants Dirk and Edson. And that focused on primarily the 400 block of Main Street. MCPC helped with the transportation and zoning recommendations for the plan. And then the other thing we've done recently is we finished 2 zoning ordinance updates for Main Street to be implementing the revitalization plan.
Sorry, I got.
Do they have a Main Street manager?
They do not. No.
So that was done in 2024, but I thought there was some changes that they kind of were not, there was some pushback in trying to implement this.
The plan, pushback on the plan. I mean, Collegeville is slow to make decisions, I'll say. And
They had some changes, I think, in your board.
not on the board, there's change, there's always been, there's a lot of turnover at Ursinus College, so they have a new president.
That was also part of it too.
Okay.
Getting some buy-in from science.
Right, so Ursinus College, the prior administration participated in the plan development, and I think they have changed. They had been working with a particular developer who was gonna had, some ideas for, you see this, the image shows what they had been proposing, like there was a creamery, there were a bike shop, and then that developer, I think, pulled out. So the borough adopted the plan, and they've adopted one zoning ordinance, like a zoning overlay. And then in June, they will adopt the other zoning update. So things are moving forward. So yeah, the revitalization plan, yeah, just some context. There are many buildings on Main that are underutilized. The college owns many of them, and some are student housing, but the college had been looking for commercial tenants, as I just was talking about. Most of the commercial activity is on the 300 block further down. So the 400 block has a little bit of commercial activity, but it's sort of spread out, and it's a lot of residences. So the revitalization plan recommends encouraging renovations, additions, and new buildings that reflect the existing architecture found along Main. So this image just shows some of the streetscape recommendations, so crosswalks, pedestrian lighting, widening the sidewalks, putting in a grass verge, bump outs in some places. The plan recommends converting Claimer Hall down there by Glenwood Ave, which is currently a college dorm, into this town square civic space that could host concerts and events and markets. Plan also recommends adding additional on and off street parking. And then it proposes this alley behind Main Street that would help with traffic flow and also help make a bike connection via Claimer down to this proposed trail connection to the Perkiomen behind Borough Hall. So as I said, we've done some zoning updates to Main Street in the past couple of years. So the first one was the Collegeville Gateway overlay, which was completed in 2022. And that's an overlay district at the corner of 5th and Main, which would allow for higher mixed-use development up to 50 feet. And the district includes detailed greening and streetscape standards, pedestrian design standards, that kind of thing. And then this image shows what the revitalization plan recommends for zoning updates for the rest of Main Street. So for the 300 and 400 blocks. So the Main Street district is proposed to replace the existing zoning along Main, which is currently 2 separate districts. It's similar to the overlay in terms of the design standards and the uses, but slightly lower heights. So, Collegeville wants to preserve its small town feel, it's the existing architecture, but also attract new businesses and allow for new development. So there's this tricky balance of, allowing, what's the amount of new development that they're comfortable with and the density of that development, but also allowing for enough density so that the developer could actually build something. So this zoning district stipulates how building additions can happen. And as I said, it's up for adoption next month. And then we're currently working with Barry and Jeff in design to create concept plans for the borough's 4 parks and open space areas. So this is a borough-wide parks master plan. The borough wanted to update play equipment at Community Park. This is the plan for Community Park. But they asked for assistance with a full parks plan to situate sort of the role and amenities at each park within the larger community. So the plan includes Waterworks Park, which is jointly owned with TRAC, Community Park shown here, Hunsberger Woods, and Creekside Park, which is the borough's newest park on the Perkiomen and that has a boat launch and a parking area. So we're working on that plan, hopefully getting them a draft within the month. And then there are a number of ordinance updates that the borough manager wants to complete, starting with the sign ordinance, which I've been working with them on and off on that for quite a while. But they also want to update, sober living facilities, accessory dwelling units, chickens, dispensaries, food trucks, skill machines, tattoo parlors. So the list goes on.
Quite a mix.
Yeah.
Let's put them all in the same zone.
Same, there you go, Steve, because it's ironic, a sober living place in a college town.
Yeah, I don't like have off the top of my head what is the context for the desire to update the sober living facility. It's possible that it exists already and it's outdated and needs updating. I don't remember. But that was the list that I was sent a couple of years ago.
Let them raise chickens.
No, sober.
Sober.
Oh, so.
Not like silver
No,
sneakers.
you live in Silver Living.
It's a different zoning category.
Sober living. Okay.
Yeah, so here's the terms of this
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
Sober living.
Sober, S-O-B.
That would be a zoning classification?
Yeah,
It's a use.
It's a use, right?
So.
it's like a group home, like a group home,
Right.
like a dry group home.
Oh, for people.
Usually like people that are recovering
Transition.
from.
Yeah.
Right.
Transitional housing.
Right, okay.
Or silver, either.
I didn't know what we were talking about there for a second.
All right, sorry, Naomi, we just digressed for a little bit.
All good. Here's the terms of Collegeville's contract, and that's all I've got. Any
Any
questions?
questions for Naomi on these 3 communities?
I know we're running late. I just real quick.
Yeah.
On Douglas, the issues to me are really difficult because you have
Yes.
all these new people moving in the townhouses. And I don't know who filled out the survey, but the people who want to keep the town and it's a real, I mean, you need buy-in from all those new people.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
that's really a challenge because it's where most of our farms are. It's a real,
right. Yeah.
Any other comments or
Yes,
questions
I
for
have a
Naomi?
question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that this is for Douglas. You mentioned a meeting coming up or a presentation.
Yes, we
And
have
when
an
will that
open,
be?
we have an open house next Tuesday. In the firehouse,
In where?
the fire station, the Gilbertsville Fire Company, I think is what it's called, on East Philadelphia Ave. It's from 6 to 8.
And what time does it start?
6.
6?
It is election day, but they wanted to host it that day anyway, so.
You should definitely go, skip election.
We have all day to vote. This is only 6 to 8.
Piece of property.
Right.
Just real quick, too, Steve, 9 of our renewals last year were managed by just 3 planners. Naomi had 3, Tim Canetti had 3, and I believe Matt Lukens had 3. So when we were looking at doing these presentations, we grouped them by those planners to give you an update on these individual communities. But it's also interesting to see the variety of activities that each individual planners have. This doesn't include Upper Salford, where the flexible assistance work Naomi does for West Pottsgrove. So it's a lot of work that each community planner does.
Yeah.
Nice job.
It's a lot of variety.
Nice.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Naomi. Good, Scott.
Okay. Before I start director's report, I do want to keep we have all our board members here today, which is not, doesn't always happen. We'd love to get a group picture. Sorry for not
It's like.
That's not fair.
It's what it is.
I feel.
We don't have to, honestly.
No, we need to. We'll be fine.
Can I borrow your jacket?
Yeah, I think so, David. Thank you very much.
Anyway, well, we would do that in the lobby right after this before we break into our.
There we go. Let's do a black and white photo.
All right, staff news. I want to introduce our newest intern. Chloe, do you want to pick it up?
Sure. Laureen has actually been with us since mid-March, but she's had, classes on Wednesday morning, but she's just finished her junior year at Westchester University, where her major is, what's the exact name of your major? Urban and environmental planning. So, Amina has lived most of her life on the border between Philly and, Montgomery, St. Joe's. So
Welcome.
Welcome.
We'll have two more interns starting on June 8th, so maybe you'll meet those next board meeting, or meet them. And also on staff news, Matt Popek was just honored, I think officially yesterday, from Local Gov 250, and the, I had it up here, no, I lost it. Well, the honor was the Local Gov 250 Government Champions. At all levels of government, they chose 250 individuals from across the country, Pennsylvania, about a dozen, and our own Matt Popek for both. He worked with us and his leadership on the Upper Merion Planning Commission as well.
Do we know why? I was just kidding. Apparently former MCPC Danielle Bear nominated me. Awesome. So congratulations.
Congratulations to you. That's great.
Obviously had to make the strong case, of which there was. So great job. All right, there is an invitation that you all as Planning Commission board members received, hopefully about a week ago, for an event on May 28th. This is the Upper Merion groundbreaking of conversion of housing of a former church to 20 affordable housing units. At that same time, the county commissioners are going to be announcing and promoting their new housing blueprint. You saw much of that content at our last, I think it was our last board meeting. We went through a lot of the projects there. It was very much emphasized how they would love to see any members of the Planning Commission board participate there and be acknowledged. So putting that out there, if you're able to join us, that is in the morning. The details are in the email. But
28th morning.
28th.
What's time?
I believe it's like 10:30 to 11:30.
Any way we could resend that email, so push it to the top.
It was on our events, was it on our?
Yes.
events?
It came directly from the commissioner's office or communications office. But also 11:30 to 12:30, sorry. I will make sure we'll send our own. Okay, and Banco 2040 grant recommendations will be hopefully announced at the May 21st Board of Commissioners. We just presented them yesterday to the info session. They're excited to do that. And also, as we do now, we do a lot of check presentations over the next few months. Highlight the great funds are selected.
What was the total?
Total amount,
Yeah.
2.75 million, 16 projects. The community planning contracts, we are talking to Tower Menson about a possible contract right now. So that's our strongest interest. We could take that on under current capacity. Several others have hinted around at it, but nothing is on the table right now. Yeah.
Yeah, they have talked about.
I know,
Yeah.
They always seem
Freddie scared them, right?
Yeah.
They just took the building and zoning officer from Shelton.
Just Henry, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and they've had some change in leadership over the last year. There are certain communities where you'd like, oh, we'd really love to be in there. That's what's going on, and that is definitely one of them. So yeah, that's very nice. It's not official, obviously, we're talking to them about scope and details. Couple work things, design staff, they're working with our Parks Department to design a riparian buffer through Lorimer Park. We're also exploring potential acquisition of Wings Field, the county administration that's been on the table. The Wings, the ownership board has long indicated that they were kind of coming to the end of what they felt was their useful life,
Please.
both in age and other things. So, it makes sense. We did an aviation plan last couple of years and are advocating for making sure that remains a county asset. And that's a normal way of doing it is.
What am I gonna keep my plane?
And also, it should be pointed out that for 30 years, it has been a revenue generator, not a drain.
Right.
So that's good.
Successful. Right.
So the intent would be to keep it as an aviation facility?
Yes. Yes. And there might be some new opportunities with the way things are, drone type stuff. So will happen. We also received a Growing Greener grant for Act 167 Phase 1 for a countywide stormwater plan from DEP, and that was $60,000.
60?
Yep. Good. So that builds off of the flood studies that we've been doing the last couple of years. I want to acknowledge recently at Lower Southford, they're looking at a potential earned income tax for open space preservation, specifically towards the Alabak Farm. But just this past week, Steve Zabinski and our own Dulcie Flaherty were out there speaking to them about.
$21 million.
Yeah.
63 acres.
Wow.
Jeez.
How many acres?
63.
Do you think they'll do it?
Do I think
They'll put it on the rep.
Oh, it's on. It's on for the 19th. It's on the
Okay.
19th.
So it is being voted on.
And there's bipartisan support. I think my instinct, totally instinct, is that it's gonna pass. It'll be interesting.
It'll be huge. What?
Yeah.
Bill, I don't get context. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't.
Have you ever been to Henning's Supermarket up
Yeah.
there? It's a farm right next to it that you see right from 63.
Okay.
And a lot of people have for many decades asked Martha when she was still alive to preserve it, and she never wanted to. She wanted to wait. She passed away, and her kids now say, we're thinking of something. It used to be that it should have been a farm. Now that everything's built out around it, the needs are different, and they would think that we multi-open space, public gathering spaces. It's right across from the Township building. It could be very interesting, but it's very expensive.
And I'll leave the events list, I'll sit in the interest of time, say with that, you all have a copy of lots going on over the next month. And the final thing I want to mention is Friday was a kickoff of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Leadership Collaborative. This is a renewed effort to really highlight the funding gaps for SEPTA and public transit, as well as local transportation revenue in general. We've long been trying to get legislation that would enable certain counties to implement mechanisms for revenue to serve local transportation projects. This is a high-profile group, not just it involves county commissioner from each of the counties, Commissioner McKeeja in our county, but also a lot of business leaders and institutional leaders are on this, about 30 people, and about 15 with staff, about 30. And so that's a 6-month intent to come out with an implementable plan that can finally move the needle on these important and needed revenue sources and incentive issues. That's all.
Thank you. So we're gonna split up into groups. I assume somebody's gonna give us some direction as to where we're going, but if you don't remember, your groups are myself, Nicole, and Sandra. John, Jonathan, and Kim, and Dulcie, Bob, and Kyle. Okay? Yeah.
You, Karina.
We'll adjourn the meeting and we'll go into our work group sessions.
We come back here at 11.
I'll give you a handout and explain it to you.
Leave our stuff here. And right after we get direction, we will all jump over together from it.
Here, we're gonna need these first 4 tables together. Anybody wants to leave anything on this table back here?
Let's go.